Strong winds drove me to Joe Matthews Park in Mount Belvieu this morning. This was my second trek of this recently opened site, and it turned out to be the perfect refuge on a particularly blustery day. I'd previously paddled the southeast leg of this route up to the intersection of Old River. Today I tackled the northwest route. Before we talk about the paddle itself, let's look at the amenities of Joe Matthews Park. It's a very nice and forgiving spot for veterans and newbies alike. The park sports some of the most well-maintained restrooms I've encountered. Trash receptacles are plentiful, and parking is abundant both at the launch site and at the playground. I would also say that security is above average, given the location and patrons of the site, along with occasional patrols passing through. Now to my favorite amenity, which is the launch itself. It is of the slide launch variety, more officially referred to as a low-impact launch. It boasts a walkway-bordered trough with angled boards on which to securely place craft of any common proportion, along with side and overhead rails, to offer every advantage to make mounting and departure easy on the paddler and the paddlecraft. This especially appeals to me when docking on return, as it forgoes the violent ramming often associated with regular concrete, ramps, and natural features. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the routes themselves. Both directions offer pretty similar experiences with that exemplary Gulf Coast bayou aesthetic. A right from the launch will lead you down miles of meandering waterway, officially known as Old River. This trek is nice if you prefer more isolated avenues. Other than a few old homesteads that look largely abandoned and a few bayou critters, you'll be left to your uninterrupted thoughts. Eventually, you'll arrive at what the map calls the cutoff. This is where most casual paddlers will turn back. However, if you bear right, you'll remain on Old River for several more miles until the I-10 bridge comes into view. Once you pass under it, you're in Old River Lake, which has several more route options that we'll cover in another video. One thing to note here, if a pickup is arranged, it would be a nice intermediate route to put in at Joe Matthews Park and trek to the launch at Hugo Point Park on Old River Lake. Now let's head left from the Joe Matthews launch. Again, it's pretty similar to the other route. However, you'll encounter just a bit more civilization on this course. While you'll still have plenty of solitude offering stretches, the first leg of this trip will be largely flanked by a couple subdivisions and a golf course that seemed particularly active on this morning's outing. However, the shore-hugging saw palmettos and sentinel cypress trees allow the activities beyond to be largely ignored. There are just a couple of caveats to this leg of the paddle. The first being its limited length. Just under the 2-mile mark, this route abruptly ended due to a downed tree that proved entirely impassable and is likely not going anywhere anytime soon. Also, there were some more narrow passages, as well as some scraping stumps just below the water level, which will be less of an issue when the water levels normalize. One of the greatest strengths of this paddle in either direction is its natural ability as a buffer against even the more boisterous coastal winds. Even though whitecaps were visible on the Trinity, with gusts up to 22 miles per hour this morning, I was able to paddle peacefully at my desired pace, rather than fighting to keep my course and exhausting my aging appendages right out of the gate. Overall, Joe Matthews Park is a great comprehensive option for paddlers of all ages and experience levels. The beginner will appreciate the ease of launch offered by the ramp and the calm cypress-sheltered waters, while even the most seasoned of paddlers will find an abundance of connecting routes to challenge any level of endurance. I will note that I saw less wildlife here than I do at most other area routes, but that had more to do with season and condition rather than the route itself. The temperature has been quite low, as has the water level for quite some time. You're bound to see a handful of coastal waterfowl, such as herons, cranes, and egrets, along with deer and the occasional osprey. This is one of the few routes where I have not yet encountered any gators, but again, that has more to do with conditions, as they are by no means absent from the area and are very likely to be seen when the climate is more conducive. And a quick note for those who may be gator squeamish. The Old River Bayou, even with current low water levels, is sufficiently wide to offer ample opportunity for gator and paddler alike to avoid being too close to one another. While this is no guarantee or substitute for diligence on the paddler's part, it is an added measure that novices to coastal wildlife will appreciate. So, to recap, Joe Matthews Park is ideal for all paddlers, boasting more than ample amenities, offering relief on windy outings with tranquil bayou scenery, once again giving it a rating of A to A+. It is one that is well worth checking out. Paddle safe, and God bless.